All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to be back with you all today for our September webinar. And we have a very special guest with us. We've got Forever 21, and today we're going to be learning how they got 11x ROAS using Zembula. I'm Cheyenne Ng, I'm the Director of Marketing, and before we get started, let's go over a couple things about the webinar. We would love to hear from you during the webinar at any time. I will have time for Q&A at the end, so if you have a question, please submit it via the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen there. And if you have a question you want answered in real time, the chat function works as well. Just make sure that you are selecting who you'd like to talk to. I do my best to answer these in real time, but sometimes I do save these questions for the end. And finally, I will be sending out a PDF and recording of this webinar to you on Monday if you'd like to reference it or share it with your colleagues. And with that, Ryan and Carl, off to you.
Thanks, Cheyenne. I'm Carl Thorner, CTO and co-founder of Zembula. We started about 10 years ago with scratch and reveal experiences to drive engagement in email, and that worked really well. But then about 4 years ago, we transitioned to performative personalization with our suite of personalization tools and a focus on driving revenue growth. And that's how Ryan got to know us.
Hey everyone, so I'm Ryan Hofmann. I'm VP of CRM and Channel Marketing at Forever 21. I've been with Forever 21 a little over a year, and I've been in e-commerce and digital marketing and email marketing for a little over 17 years. So excited to be with you today.
Really great to have you here, Ryan. We really appreciate it. And sorry for skipping the slide on you there. We'll move on now. So the highlights for today is the obviously the 11x ROAS, 6 weeks to launch from contract start date, and a fully automated program that takes minimal work to maintain. We'll take a quick look at the agenda here. So first, Ryan's going to tell us a little bit about Forever 21, why they chose to go with Zembula. Also, we are going to dive into the smart banner and just show you how that's set up and how that works. And beyond the smart banner, other content blocks and banners that we've been testing and running. And then my favorite part, Ryan's feature, which is, yeah, we'll get to it towards the end here. And then we'll have some time for questions and answers at the very end.
Gotta love it when they name a feature after you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ryan. It's your fault now. So.
Before we get started into the meat of today's webinar, I wanted to just ask a quick poll question. Go ahead and let us know when it comes to personalizing your promotional emails, which is your greatest challenge. Is it because you're a daily sender? Is it segmentation / creative variations, changing your team workflow, or limited resources? I'll go ahead and give everyone a couple seconds to answer. All right, awesome. It looks like most of you struggle with the segmentation and creative variations, and limited resources are actually tied with that. So 2 really tough challenges you're all facing.
Let's see if I can get to the next slide here. All right, so Ryan, can you talk to us a little bit about Forever 21 and how you run things over there?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I've been at Forever 21 a little over a year. But Forever 21 has been around for almost 40 years now. The first store opened in 1984 under the banner of Fashion 21, which would later become Forever 21. We went through a bankruptcy in 2019 and came out of bankruptcy in 2020. We were acquired by Authentic Brands Group, also known as ABG, and Simon Property Group, also known as Spark. And we're one of 7 operating Spark brands. So we've got a number of kind of other retailers that we work alongside, which is great and a wonderful partnership. Forever 21 specifically has, I think, a little over 10,000 employees, which is phenomenal size and scale. We've got 400 stores and a website and a mobile app. So there's a lot of great complexities and great scale that come with working here at Forever 21. And you'll see here on the slide, our mission really is to help inspire individual self-expression through amazing fashion. I was at a conference last week and was able to ask someone in the audience what they liked the most about Forever 21. And it was great to hear back from the first person who raised their hand said, there's something for everyone. You can find something for everything for every occasion. And it was really just great to kind of hear that, again, like what we're trying to do, what our mission is, just reiterated by one of our customers out in that audience. So it really is what we're trying to accomplish and what we're all about.
Sounds a lot like personalization.
Absolutely. It's all about personalization.
All right. So can you talk a little bit about your email marketing revenue and how you think about it?
Yeah, so really this hasn't changed for me in like the last 17 years that I've been doing email. It's pretty much the same structure, if you will, anywhere that I've ever been. And I think a lot of you on the webinar also probably think about email in largely the same way, right? At the top left, we've got promotional email. It's largely driven by the marketing calendar, if you will, in terms of what content is going out on a scheduled basis, whether it's daily or twice daily sometimes, as the case may be. And then over on the right, you've got triggered email. Those are kind of your abandoned cards, your welcome, it's your your win backs, your maybe it's loyalty communications, right? Those things that are being triggered based off of a behavior or some sort of date in that person's past history with you. And then transactional, right? All of the order confirmation, shipping confirmation, anything about that order specifically. And the triggered and the transactional are your kind of collectively your life cycle communications, right? They're based off of data. They're very highly personalized, and they're very high revenue per message at the end of the day. When you look at the performance of those two categories of emails, the revenue per message you get from those are just off the charts high, especially relatively compared to your promotional emails. So when I look at kind of the structure of this, what I'm always trying to do is increase the promotional email revenue per message to hopefully perform like triggered and transactional.
Yeah, there's a lot of revenue sitting there for sure. And the volumes for promotional are massive, right, compared to the transactionals.
Exactly.
So, great. Yeah, thanks for that. And then let's take a look at your tech stack. Do you want to give us kind of a high level here?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a very, very simplified view of a very complex tech stack. But we've got Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud in the mix. Amperity is our customer data platform. Bluecore does our triggered communications and product recommendations. We've also got Narvar doing some of the transactional notifications. And I mentioned earlier, we've got a mobile app. So that's in the mix as well. That does kind of add a level of complexity to the things that we do. And Zembula is getting all of this data into their platform for use in our personalization.
Yeah, it's in order to do personalization, you need data. And when we see that you have a CDP like Amperity with lots of good data we can activate, or something like Bluecore where we can sync data in from, that's great. Of course, we're syncing data from Commerce Cloud in real time with webhooks. We also do scheduled syncs for things like your product updates and that kind of stuff, and different data from Amperity. And we, of course, have the snippet on your website to collect cart and browse activity, as well as the mobile SDK for both your Android and iOS app. And so, yeah, lots of good data there, and lots of different ways to sync it. So, so let's go back into kind of some of the challenges here with personalizing the promotional email. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I wasn't really surprised to hear that segmentation creative variations is a challenge, and then the limited resources. I think a lot of those end up kind of dovetailing into one another, if you will, because a lot of that creative variations, that's creative resources that you need, and/or also on your own team, from an email operations perspective, time implementing those creative variations. So these challenges haven't changed in the last 17 years. They're the same. They're the same challenges that have always been there. Daily sender maybe is the one thing as volumes have increased, right? When I first started my career, it was kind of an every other day promotional campaign, and now it's every day and twice a day. And so the rate at which you send obviously is a challenge, because that increased volume, you're asking yourself, how do I make that email more relevant, more personalized for everyone who's receiving it? And when you're sending daily or twice a day or whatever it might be, like that, it's tough to accomplish that. Again, segmentation, creative variations, every time you want to send more relevant messaging, and if you're doing it with segmentation, it's a great approach, right? I love segmentation, but it's just it struggles to scale. The more segments that you do, the more operational process and the more creative variations you have to have. So at some point, segmentation makes its way into personalization in terms of the how much you're trying to do there. The team workflow, right? Again, like the more segment you add, the more process you add, the more team members you need, the limited resources. It's always kind of the same discussion as far as if I want to personalize, how do I get there?
It's almost like you're setting us up perfectly, Ryan. Let's talk a little bit about why you chose Zembula again and again, as my kids would say.
Yeah, so and I've used different personalization and dynamic content providers in the past, and I have not had the same kind of partnership and results that I've had with Zembula anywhere else. And like Carl mentioned, this isn't my first time implementing Zembula. It is my second rodeo with them. My first one, I was at Thrive Cosmetics, and we implemented there and got tremendous results. And I think there's already a recorded webinar from Carly, our CRM manager at Thrive at the time, that had implemented it and got double-digit growth in revenue per message from our promotional campaigns, which is huge. And so again, just knowing, having worked with Zembula in the past and knowing the results that they could drive and the speed with which they could deliver and implement, for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. Like, yes, like we're gonna do Zembula again. Yes, it's a totally different tech stack. It's all different data sources. It's all different everything, different teams, different platforms that we got to integrate with. But knew that Zembula was really gonna deliver and help us get the same kind of lift that we ended up actually getting.
Yeah, very different businesses in some sense with the brick and mortar and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Again, Forever 21, we're omni-channel retailer versus Thrive Cosmetics was a e-com only, right? Only online. So and still got great results. And the high level strategy, I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but one of the things I say a lot is I want to turn every touch point into a life cycle touch point, right? So all those promotional messages that are being driven off of the marketing calendar, if you will, I want to transform those into performing as well as those life cycle triggered and transactional touch points. And that's really been the key to our success with Zembula is the ease with which we can actually do that and accomplish that. So
yeah, I want to call out here that small volume or small audience sort of long tail aspect of that you always talk to, Ryan. It's I think that's really you can get a lot of value out of that.
Exactly. You're kind of moving from this macro segmentation approach, right, of trying to be more personalized to the individualized like you said, long tail approach with being able to personalize in those promotional messages and generate high value because they are highly relevant, highly valuable messages that we're including in those promotional campaigns.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It wasn't really a lot of work for my team. that's one of the great benefits of working with Zembula. Again, like from signatures to send, it was 6 weeks, right? All of those different platforms and the data in those platforms integrated into Zembula. Carl and the team were able to integrate that in and get that. Again, like there's every possible way that you could integrate data in. They're doing it, right? The JavaScript, webhooks, scheduled sends, APIs, right? Like all of the different data connections. The Zembula team is handling phenomenally. And again, just getting all that data in is what provides the value, right? Like you can't personalize without the data. So getting that data in as quickly as they did was super key. And the really kind of amazing thing for me is the ability to have kind of this hybrid working partnership with Zembula. They are all about full service. They get you implemented and up and running as quickly as possible, and they will do anything that you know. It's like, hey, we need this done, this change, whatever it is, on the full service side. But you know, as marketers, we all know those like Friday night at 9 p.m. panic attacks that we have going into a holiday, you know, a retail holiday weekend, and we got to change something, and we're like, is someone going to be there ready for me to make this change? In reality, Zembula is absolutely there for you in those situations. But the great thing is the platform is so flexible and easy to use. My teams can get into this, or every member of my team can get in and make a change or implement something or do something on their side too. So it's really great to again have this full service speed to market, you know, get things up and running as quickly as possible. And anytime I want to make a change, can do that too. But having the flexibility and peace of mind of being able to have self-service capabilities is just it's unmatched.
Thanks. That's high praise. We really try to make it easy to QA and schedule things and to take over. And if you make a mistake, you know, being able to fix that easily, even in emails you've sent already. So that's great to hear. But let's talk about why we're really here, Ryan.
The money.
So yeah. 11x ROAS, in the title of our webinar today, ROAS, some people know this as ROI. ROAS is often used in the ad space. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is and just define it? And
yeah, you come across ROAS more often in the paid media space than you necessarily do in the CRM space per se. But yeah, it's the same concept as ROI, right? We're looking at the revenue that we're able to drive against the marketing investment that we've made. So that return on ad spend is key for us to understanding and operating efficiently as a business. But the real key is the actual revenue dollars that we drive, right? And by implementing Zembula, we got a 10% lift in the revenue per message in our promotional email campaigns, which is just huge, right? Like if you were to ask anyone, hey, how can you drive a 10% increase in your promo emails? You know, this for me is kind of that lather, rinse, repeat. Yeah, I'm going to implement Zembula and we'll get it right away.
Yeah, and this is longitudinal testing results. So we're not talking like impression based, like, oh, what did they see in the last 7 days, or clicks. This is really one group versus another group, which group made more money, and then over a long period of time too, right? Why
exactly. We when we test it Forever 21, we do so with fairly statistical rigor. And we wanted to make sure that we were doing this in such a way that we could, you know, it wasn't just like, hey, we tested it once and it worked. And look at the lift of it. We tested it over a period of 4 weeks. We tested it, you know, again, we held the groups constant so that it wasn't like you were getting a smart banner one day and not another day. We held the control group constant for the full 4 weeks. We held the treated group constant for the full 4 weeks. And then at the end of that 4 weeks, we were able to look and see the revenue per customer coming in from these two different groups. And that's where we saw that 10% lift in revenue per message.
Great. All right. So let's dive into the Smart Banner. For those of you who don't know, we'll give you a quick intro to what it is. So it's a banner that sits at the top of your email and picks from a pool of content. The use cases that you see on the left here are the ones we started out with, and we added more to that as we went along. And within each one of those use cases, there are different journeys. So lots more content below those as well. And it's all decided with the campaign decision engine, what you see based on your state and what state the product's in, and kind of where you're at on that journey. This is a single pixel that you put in one time, and that has unlimited content below it. So you're not putting, 37 pixels down and getting cut off by your in the inbox or anything like that. It's one pixel at the top. No need to go in and edit your HTML and make sure you got everything right. So what this means in the end is this is what gives us the flexibility and allows us to move really fast. This is what really empowers the marketer to, focus on what matters instead of a lot of busy work of, getting things set up. And so what drives this is all this data. You see the usual suspects there of cart and browse data. We have order data for, attribution and those kind of things, and then fulfillment data for things like tracking, package tracking numbers, and all of this syncs in real time from the Commerce Cloud and different data sources that we're connected to. The product feed data will give us inventory levels and if an item is on sale, and then obviously mobile data, and there's lots more that we don't have time to go into today, but lots of good data there to leverage. Let's take a quick look at the cart abandonment journey. So, the things we're always trying to figure out here is like, what's the right cadence, what product to show when, understanding what performs best. And this is included in every single promotional email that goes out at the very top. So, to really, make sure that we close out those carts and get that value that's sitting there for that kind of smaller part of your audience. The on sale one on the bottom will show, even if you added an item a week ago and it wasn't on sale, if it's on sale now, you're probably going to want to know what that price is. So, we make sure to show that based on real-time live product data that comes in, and it can drive great performance, 2 to 5x conversion rates of just kind of a basic banner. And yeah, anything to add here, Ryan?
Yeah, I think the data is the key, right? The last slide, just all the different data sources is what makes the Zembula platform so strong, right? The more data that you sink in, the better personalization you can add and create in these banners, right? Whether it's again, like the first name, the product name, the original versus sale price, even the animation, right? Like having all of the alternate images for a product be able to cycle through. I love that animation aspect of it. It really catches the subscriber's eye, and I think is one of the key parts to helping drive that revenue lift as well. So again, all the data is key, but that data, even in the event of just alternate images as well, is just, it's amazing what these smart banners do perform.
And all of these are built with our drag and drop editor. Even the animation, you drag in the chip with the multiple product images, and it understands that, oh, you probably want an animation here, and there you go, it's an animation. So yeah, quick to build is key part of this. The next one, this one's fun because it kind of ties back to our history of doing the scratch and reveal experiences. We saw great performance with these back in the day with engagement, and still to this day. The banner on the left is what you see in the smart banner at the top, and then if it's less than 7 days until your coupon expires, it starts the countdown and says, hey, you better act now, 3 days left. And then once you click that, you go to the Forever 21 site with an overlay. We don't want to take them to an interstitial because we've seen we lose performance there if they don't want to necessarily engage, but most people do. And they will scratch. You'll notice it says, welcome, Carlos, in the reveal there. I wonder who Carlos is. No resemblance to speakers or anyone else on this webinar. But yeah, Carlos there has his personalized welcome coupon code that he can use on the site there. And the CTA pops up after you've revealed enough. So that's a big part of that experience. All right, next one here, and I realized yesterday that this is a literal journey for the package, and also a journey in the sense that we think of it in the email. We have normalized all the data from the different carriers and into basically there's 5 stages: label created, in transit, or label created, shipped, in transit, out for delivery, and delivered. This is simplified into kind of 3 states here. Of course, if there's an exception, you'll be notified of that. Maybe there's a delay. It'll tell you when the estimated delivery time is. And this is actually a high performer. There's no CTA here to add anything to your cart or anything like that, but it performs. And it, Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about what you've seen with this in the past?
Yeah, so interestingly, and again, I know open rate is kind of a soft or dead metric these days, but back when we were testing it in previous instances, we actually did see open rate lift from including this in the content, which it's no secret that like shipping confirmation emails are one of the most highly opened and reopened messages in kind of your overall messaging mix. And in incorporating this banner into promotional messages, you start to train the subscriber that, oh, I can just go to any current promotion, any current email. I don't have to search around for my, my shipping confirmation or message or anything like that. I can just find any recent message and get to my current order package status. So that was, I think, one kind of interesting thing that kind of overall happened from this was just that lift in in open rates. The other thing, again, and we didn't test this at Forever 21, but in my previous existence, we did see a slight decrease in the Wismo, the where is my order requests coming into customer service. And that's a big boon to the bottom line, not having to have customer service agents field just simple requests that the customer should be able to self-service figure out on their own. So again, it's a really nice touch point, and really that is the whole point of the smart banner, right? Is the relevance with which we're talking to the customer. This is at the top of every promotional message, and we're giving them a life cycle message. And so we're helping them understand, like, we know where you're at in your customer journey with us. And if you've recently purchased with us, we know that, and we're going to show you that we know that. We're going to show you where your package is in transit. And we're going to also try to sell you everything else in the rest of the email. But first and foremost, we want to let you know that we're getting your current order to you as quickly as possible. And if it's not, oh, sorry, Carl.
Oh, that I was just going to say that's a good point. It's more relevant than probably the old transactional email you sent 2 days ago. If you have a current merchandising campaign or something like that, right?
Exactly. Again, the whole point is to increase and improve the personalization and talk to them in their current life cycle stage. And so again, whether it's their package in transit or abandoned cart or the welcome journey or whatever it might be, we're making sure that they understand that we understand where they're at in that journey with us. And that's, I think, one of the biggest key reasons why it does perform so well.
That's great. All right, so let's talk about beyond the smart banner, some of the other things we've been running with you and things that we're currently testing and seeing great results with. Let's first up here is the smart kicker. So this is very similar to the smart banner. You can see it at the bottom there. It's usually a larger format. It's just another opportunity to get that to get them to act. And it's not shown here with the smart banner at the top, but we run it with the smart banner at the top as a reinforcement thing. Does that sound about right, Ryan?
Yeah, so in reality, what you're kind of doing is bookending your promotional content, right? We're leading with the smart banner at the top. Then we've got the smart kicker at the bottom in terms of what we're testing there. Yeah, and the way I kind of look at it is it's a great recovery module, right? If they've scrolled all the way down to the bottom of the email and haven't clicked yet, right? Like this, again, very highly relevant, highly personalized message that's at the bottom of the email is hopefully going to elicit that click and then ultimately drive them through to the conversion.
It's your exit intent, if you compare it to your website, essentially. Yeah,
exactly.
So let's talk about the tax-free holiday banner. So the way this worked was very basic setup. We did a spreadsheet of data as a data source, just dragged in that into the platform. It's based on what state you're in and when you're looking at the content. So you see the examples on the right here. If you're in Maryland and on August 13th, you're going to see that top banner. But if you're not there in that state or it's a different time, not in the time period where this is relevant, you won't see it. Yeah, Ryan, so how hard is this to do in the ESP? I know you've done it.
Yeah, so last year we did this all in segmentation and dynamic, just creative content variations in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and it is a heavy lift on the team operationally and creatively to execute on this. Yeah, Carl, I forgot to mention a spreadsheet upload as a data source, but that was, again, like, any way you want to get data into Zembula, you can do it. This is another great example of that. And and again, just each state with all of their different rules and the different time frames and the different percentage, tax, whatever it was, right? It's complicated, and if you've ever tried to execute on this, you know it. And we did it this year in Zembula, and the lift was so much lighter. It was just it was amazing to just see and see. This was done with a personalization, 1 pixel in the email, rather than, hey, we're gonna try to do this with all of this segmentation and targeting and everything else. So this was unbelievably easy to execute this year as compared to years past.
And your team used this as a training exercise, right? So everyone on your team built this from scratch on their own, just as a training exercise. Because
exactly, yeah. So again, like Zembula, there for the full service, but this was one the team was like, hey, like let's try to do this on our own. So every member of our CRM team got in, and they built the tax-free banners in the platform. So it was great. Again, just it just goes to show the best platforms, if you will, are ones that anyone can use, and whether it's the Zembula team implementing in the full service capacity for us, or my team doing it, it was great to be able to see that in action on this one.
All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Product recommendations. This is a really exciting one. We're just starting to get results from this, and it is performing. We have, I think at this point, 99% statistical significance, but we want to keep testing, see long-term results and all that kind of stuff. But this is driven by Bluecore's retail specific AI models. And we have a very good partnership with them, and syncing the data from them and driving this into the promotional emails, because you're already using them for that triggered emails, right?
Exactly, and that's I think the key. Like if you've ever used different personalization engines, right? Some people have personalization engine for the website that's different from the personalization engine for the email, and when you do that, they're completely disjointed, right? The recommendations that you get from either one are never the same. And so for us to be able to say, hey, we're already delivering product recommendations in our triggered lifecycle communications. Let's make sure we use those same. We've done a lot of tuning and work on those different algorithms, different content types in Bluecore. Let's just leverage everything that we've done there in promotional emails. So instead of having to set it all up and do it all differently, it was really great to just be able to put our Bluecore recommendations that were really that we've done a lot of work tuning right into a Zembula content block into the body of the email. And anyone who knows like product recommendations, I mean, they perform really, really well, and the ability to include it here was super simple. And again, like Carl mentioned, like the early results, right, we're seeing like 4% lift again in revenue per message, and that's additive to the smart banner. So like in our emails, we already have the smart banner at the top, and this is product recommendations on top of that. So it's great to be able to see like, hey, like the more that we stack these things on top of one another with different personalized content modules, we're getting incremental benefit at each step in the way.
Yeah, it's great. I love seeing high performers like this, and it's great having that really good data. The more places you use your personalization or product recommendations, obviously, the more data you're gonna get the better recommendations for that too. So the models, we're helping out the models here by putting it in the promotional email and really juicing that performance.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the rollout. So the different phases that we've rolled this out into, we split this into phase 1, where we started with the package tracking, browse, and cart. Phase 2, we've included credit card loyalty, welcome, reactivation, and birthday coupons. We saw one of those journeys for the welcome. And obviously the product recommendations we just talked about, and the kicker, and some other smart blocks. So the reason we split this into a phased approach is so we have time to really tune each piece, and then it's sort of evergreen content. We make sure that it performs over the long term and add enough variability so that you can kind of just set it and forget it and keep getting that revenue lift. And yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, they always be testing. I mean, it's just it's a mantra that we have at Forever 21. We're always testing, whether it's in our CRM channel. It's every CRM channel, email, SMS, push notifications. We're testing all the time in every one of those channels. And paid media, same thing everywhere. We're always testing, and being able to have a platform that enables us to test as much as we do is key for us in a platform. So that's why I'm super excited about the new features and capabilities that Zembula has been building, because it helps us test even more and more frequently.
Well, we learned this from you, and credit where credit's due. So yeah, Ryan's feature is what we've been calling this since we started building it out.
We gotta get a better name about it at some point.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's sticking. But yeah, so maybe, since we have you on here, it'd be great to hear it from, the source, what this is.
Yeah, so one of the key challenges we've had, and it's when we were testing Zembula for implementation, or a lot of things that we've tested over time, send time optimization, you name it, like we do longitudinal testing, which means that we're doing it for a long period of time. It's not just a one and done A/B test and hey, let's report on the results. We're testing for a long period. So we create a holdout group or a control group, and then the treated group. And then we hold those groups constant over the duration of the test. And in doing that, there's only so much your team can do operationally, because it is such a heavy lift, right? It's like every day, day in and day out, the teams have to make sure that the segmentation is correct, that the treated group and the holdout group are correct, that everyone's getting the right content, the QA is all, it's a process. And especially doing it over a 4-week period, it just is a heavy lift. And as a result, you really only want to run one test at a time because of the heavy lift and burden it puts on the team operationally. So you're only running one test at a time. And we're testing for revenue, right? At the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not, for us, it's not clicks and engagement and all that. That's important, but we're testing to make sure that the revenue of the treated group is higher than the revenue of the control group. And so that's really what we're aiming to do. And doing this in an ESP, it's a lot of segmentation. It's a lot of creative variations. It's a lot of time and effort and resources. A lot of again, like going back to the poll, it's a lot of every one of the challenges that everyone has with trying to do better personalization and email.
Right. So you're making it harder for everyone.
Right.
But you need to do that if you really want to know if it's performing. So yeah, thanks for that. We can talk a little bit about the traditional email platform testing with an A/B test. So what Ryan was saying, there's multiple sends, and you split. You do your segmentation. If you're not doing longitudinal testing, this is how it normally works, where group A from send 1 will be different from group A in the send 2, and so on. And then you're not really tracking that long-term performance, and a lot of times you're tracking clicks instead of revenue, although some do revenue as well. So the challenge is, if you want to try to make this a longitudinal test in the ESP, is maintaining the audience split, handling new email signups, which you already mentioned, and then how do you manage multiple tests at the same time? And then, of course, if you do a test of 2 emails, now you're creating 4 emails instead of 2. That's a lot more emails.
And handling those new email signups, I mean, that's not inconsequential, right? Like, and to be honest, the way that we handled it was, we just said, we're just, again, like resource and content and creative wise, we're just not going to be able to handle that, that process wise. So we just said, we're going to ignore it. We're going to assume that the results of the original groups will be able to be applied to the new signups, but that's not a great way to test. It's an okay way to test, but being able to handle new signups is just one of those other things that we couldn't operationally really do very well.
Yeah, you're missing something there with a new high value audience. And so this content level longitudinal testing that we've introduced with the Ryan's feature, we're really excited about it. It makes it easy to set up. I mean, very quick. I mean, you could probably do it in 5 minutes instead of a lot of meetings and a lot of figuring out and a lot of segmentation. We split it into, for the smart banner, an A group and a B group. A group gets a collapsed pixel. B group gets the smart banner with the package tracking and cart and browse and all those different banners we talked about. And you can run multiple tests at the same time. So in the example shown here, you see the kicker with a similar two other groups that are statistically independent of the previous groups. And you can run, it's easy to set up. You don't have to create, an extra quadratic number of emails to manage this. It's easy on the team. It's just, you're just creating your one email for everybody, and this goes in there and it's all managed on the Zembula side. So benefits of this is there's, again, Ryan, I'm just reiterating what you said here, but it's the nothing to handle in your ESP. It's that.
I mean, that in and of itself is amazing. Like, not having to handle all of the, like who's in the control in the treated group, how do we handle new subscribers, how do we, how do we do all this, different content variations. I mean, that is such a huge lift and burden off of the team to just be like, hey, like, it's really easy to just run this test in Zembula, run it for 4 weeks and report on the results. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and new signups, we talked about that. And then, yeah, again, running multiple tests at the same time, you're not limited to your calendar. Oh, we got to wait for this one. And then because we just don't have the resources to manage, 10 times the number of emails that we send on a daily basis. So let's take it home, Ryan. You want to kind of summarize for us?
Yeah, so I mean, again, like it's been amazing to just again work with Zembula again, launching signature to sending in just a 6-week time frame. But again, the proof is in the pudding, if you will, right? It's 11x ROAS. It's the revenue that Zembula is driving for us, and it's a better customer experience at the end of the day, right? It's because of that better customer experience, turning every touch point into a life cycle touch point that is causing the customer to spend more at Forever 21, right? She's shopping more frequently and spending her dollars with us. And again, it's a very light effort, light lift on the team to be able to do. I'm excited to see what we're able to do moving forward. Again, the smart banner, smart kicker, there's so many other things to test. We're going to always be testing, and excited to see what this new, again, we got to come up with a better name than what we've got. But the new testing feature is really exciting to see as well.
All right. Well, thanks for walking us through that, Ryan. Really appreciate it. We have next up is Q&A. And Cheyenne, do you want to kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, if you have any questions, make sure to submit them. I know we're almost out of time. I won't keep you much longer, but we will have time to answer some questions, so make sure you submit those right now. First one up here, regarding tax-free holiday banners, did you just show the banner in the email, or was there any other content that was not shown in that slide?
So it was primarily in the banner in the email. Now, obviously there's certain things where you do want to do maybe like a kickoff at certain points for a particular state or whatever with their particular tax-free holiday. So it's not that we didn't do other efforts and other messaging to correspond with that, but the level of personalization and just having that banner in the entire time, the entire duration of that tax-free, state's tax-free holiday was really the key here.
Okay, perfect. Let's move on. How little data can you rely on to begin personalization? I'm thinking of the more anonymous subscribers who you don't have a lot of information about.
Great question. Yeah. So in order to show someone if they have an abandoned cart or a browse item or a package on the way, you really need to know who it is. Now, we do a lot to try to identify those anonymous accounts, and we have part of our personalization suite methods to kind of figure out who's doing what and tracking them, if they're clicking through in the email and that kind of stuff. Ryan, I know you're an expert on this and really understand that probably better than most.
I mean, we do a lot to increase our identification rates. Like it's a key thing, and if you're not focused on improving identification, you're not going to have, you're going to have a lot more anonymous, unknown people on your site coming through. So Again, like doing every tactic possible to turn them from anonymous into known is the key there. Like you've got to have a concerted focus and priority of making that happen. And we have, I mean, identification, my teams will tell you, identification is one of the things I talk about quite a bit. And it's always a priority for us. And we've got projects that we're excitedly move. I had some emails this morning about a new identification feature that's going to help us right into the holiday season. So identification, focus on it.
And it's different a little bit across different, some of our customers, everybody does it a little bit different, have different tools. And we work with all of them, and just it's part of our data architecture when we first set up to understand how to best do that.
All right. Another question about testing. How big should your audience database be so that your testing results are statistically significant?
Depends on how much they buy. So there's a lot of questions in there. Depends on, first of all, what you're testing. Are you testing content for new customers? Are you testing, do you have a high percentage of new customers, or do you have high retention? And then of course, how much and how often do people buy things? Are you selling furniture? We have customers selling, sofas and beds and mattresses and all kinds of stuff. And those are more higher ticket items. And then, or is it, down to $5 items where you get a lot of transactions and that kind of stuff. So it just all really depends on your audience and what you're testing. Mm-hmm. But in general, Ryan, I think probably you've harped on this, and it's that you need that longitudinal thing regardless, right?
I believe in that, yes. Like again, the control that you need to say like, hey, this feature really really did provide the lift. I've seen too many A/B tests go one way. One time you execute on it, and then another way the next time you execute on it. And so that's really one of the reasons why we methodically use longitudinal tests to measure the lift. One test doesn't necessarily prove a trend. And so by having, again, like in our case, a lot of times we run them for 4 weeks, especially if it's a big feature that's kind of going to change things fundamentally. So that's why that is why we run things longitudinally.
All right. Another one here. What were some of the challenges you faced when integrating the tech stack?
I'm going to leave that to Carl, because we didn't have any challenges on our side. Carl was the one implementing it all.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is at this point we can integrate with pretty much anything. The challenge is just finding time on people's calendars to schedule the intro meeting, and where we kind of figure out what data is available and that kind of stuff. But
it was probably more just getting the login and authentication information.
Yeah, as soon as we have that, we're set, and it the setup itself is really quick and very straightforward. So yeah.
Well, we have time for just one more here. Do you think that smart banners are stealing performance from other parts of your email?
That's a great question. So no, I don't think it's stealing performance from other parts of our program. And the reason behind that is because if I look at my transactional messages and my triggered messages, both of those programs have been growing all along while we've been implementing and testing and running live with Zembula. So again, it's really great. Like, I want more revenue out of all of those lifecycle touch points. And again, the fact that Zembula is now this lifecycle touch point, personalization data point in my promotional emails just is phenomenal. So yeah, it's not cannibalizing. It's all been additive to what's been going on in other trends and other sub channels, if you will, of email.
Amazing. All right, I think that's all we have time for right now. If you had any questions that didn't get answered, I'll make sure to reach out personally and address those for you. All right. Thanks everyone so much for joining us today. And like I said at the beginning of the webinar, I'll make sure to send out a recording and slides to everyone so you can reference it or share it with your colleagues if you'd like to. We will have another webinar at some point in the future. Make sure to join our mailing list if you want info on that. But it was so great to have you all here today, and you, Ryan, especially. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
My
thank you.
pleasure.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.